Generational curses are easiest to break because every demon will bow in the name of Jesus. God has to empower you to create a new rhythm.
But the truth is, when you receive the power of the Holy Spirit and you start walking truly close with God, it is a privilege that is given to everybody. If God is your father, you should be able to hear him.
What happens when a man celebrated as a prophet by millions suddenly finds himself at the center of controversy, health concerns, and a legal battle that could change everything? For years, Prophet Lovy Elias captured the attention of believers around the world with powerful prophecies, inspiring sermons, and messages centered on faith, healing, and transformation. Rising from a remarkable background tied to African music royalty, the Kenyan-born pastor built a global ministry and became one of the most recognized prophetic voices in America. But behind the growing influence and worldwide recognition, troubling challenges began to emerge. Reports of serious health scares sparked concern among supporters, while shocking accusations and an escalating legal dispute threatened to shake the foundation of everything he spent years building. As questions continue to spread and public scrutiny intensifies, many are wondering whether this is simply another difficult chapter in his journey or the beginning of a much larger fall from grace. How did one of the most influential prophetic leaders of his generation arrive at this moment? What is fact, what is speculation, and what really happened behind the scenes? The boy caught between music and destiny. Long before people knew him as Prophet Lovy Elias, he was simply a young boy growing up in a family where music was everywhere. Born as Lovy Longomba Jr. on November 25, 1985 in Nairobi, Kenya, he entered a world already filled with fame, talent, and high expectations. Most children dream of becoming famous one day. For Lovy, fame was already part of his family story. His childhood was shaped by two powerful influences, faith and music. Raised in a home that blended Kenyan and Congolese traditions, he grew up hearing prayers, worship, rehearsals, instruments, and stories from the stage. In the Longomba family, music was more than a career. It was part of everyday life. The family name carried enormous respect across Africa. His father, Lovy Longomba Sr., was a well-known musician who performed with the legendary Orchestra Super Mazembe, one of East Africa's most celebrated bands. His grandfather, Vicky Longomba, helped establish the famous TPOK Jazz Orchestra, a group that influenced African music for decades. His uncle, Awilo Longomba, would later become one of Africa's biggest music stars, winning fans around the world with his energetic performances. With such a powerful musical legacy behind him, many people believed his future had already been decided. The obvious path seemed clear: music, fame, and a life in the spotlight. But according to Lovy, God had different plans. He has often shared that when he was only 6 years old, he experienced a vision of Jesus Christ that changed his life forever. During that encounter, he believed he received a divine calling to become a prophet and raise what he later described as people of fire across nations. For some people, that story sounded remarkable. Others found it difficult to understand. Yet for young Lovy, it became the moment that shaped everything that followed. As he grew older, the support of his family strengthened both his faith and his confidence. Deep inside, he carried a belief that his purpose would one day reach far beyond success, applause, or celebrity status. Even while opportunities in music continued to appear, he never completely let go of the feeling that something greater was waiting ahead. Still, an important question remained. Would he leave behind the musical path his family was famous for and fully embrace ministry? Or would he first follow the road that had brought fame to generations of Longombas? The answer would surprise many people. Before the pulpit. Before crowds gathered to hear his prophecies, before church services filled with worshipers, and before his name became known in ministry circles, Lovy Elias was building a successful career in music. As a teenager, he teamed up with his older brother, Christian Longomba, to create a music group called the Longombas. The brothers combined their Congolese roots with Kenya's fast-growing urban music scene. The result was a fresh sound that quickly stood out from everything else listeners were hearing at the time. Their energy was impossible to ignore. Audiences loved their chemistry on stage, and fans connected instantly with their music. Soon, their popularity began spreading across East Africa. Then came the breakthrough that changed everything. Their hit song, Dondosa, exploded in popularity almost overnight. The track dominated radio stations, packed dance floors, and turned the brothers into household names. Suddenly, they were no longer just talented musicians from Nairobi. They had become full-fledged celebrities. Fans memorized their lyrics, copied their dance moves, and followed their careers closely. Every new release generated excitement, and their growing fan base stretched far beyond Kenya. The momentum continued with the release of their debut album, Chukua. The project received widespread praise and earned some of the region's most respected music awards. In 2005, the Longombas won the Kora Award for Best East African Group. A year later, they received the Kisama Music Award for Best Group. Their success opened doors across the world. They performed on major stages, attended international events, and seemed destined for a long future in entertainment. Looking from the outside, Lovy appeared to be living the dream. He had fame, recognition, opportunities, and a promising career ahead. Yet while the crowds cheered and the spotlight grew brighter, another battle was taking place behind the scenes. The spiritual calling he believed he received as a child never disappeared. No matter how successful music became, he could not ignore the feeling that God was leading him somewhere else. A major turning point arrived in 2007 when he moved to Los Angeles. Little by little, his focus began to shift. The music remained important, but his interest in spiritual matters grew stronger with each passing year. Very few people could have predicted what would happen next. The young performer who once entertained audiences with hit songs would eventually stand before thousands, speaking about faith, prophecy, healing, and transformation. Music had opened the first chapter of his story, but an entirely different chapter was about to begin. From music success to a prophetic mission. Moving to Los Angeles in 2007 placed Lovy in the center of the global entertainment industry. He had already experienced success in Africa, but America presented a much larger stage with greater opportunities and greater competition. Rather than focusing on performing, he began working behind the scenes. He built a career as a songwriter and producer, helping create music for other artists while developing valuable industry connections. Over time, his reputation continued to grow. His talent eventually earned him a Grammy nomination through his work connected to Iggy Azalea's song, Change Your Life. The recognition showed that he had reached a high level within the industry. For many people, this would have been the ultimate achievement. But according to Lovy, success in music did not bring complete fulfillment. As his professional career expanded, he felt increasingly convinced that God was calling him in a different direction. Then came a decision that would change the course of his life. In 2013, after years of mentoring people privately and offering spiritual guidance, he opened his home for a small prayer gathering. There was no large audience, there was no famous platform, there were no cameras or headlines, just a small group of people meeting together to pray, learn, and seek God. What started in a living room soon grew far beyond anyone's expectations. That humble gathering eventually developed into Revelation Church of Jesus Christ, a ministry focused on prophecy, healing, deliverance, and biblical teaching. The growth was remarkable. Week after week, more people arrived. Soon, hundreds were attending services in person, while thousands more joined online from countries around the world. The music star who once captured attention through songs was now reaching audiences through a completely different message. And as his influence continued to expand, Lovy Elias was on his way to becoming one of the most recognized prophetic voices of his generation. Few people expected Lovy Elias to become one of the most talked about prophetic leaders of his generation. Long before millions knew him for his sermons and prophetic teachings, he was building his name in the music industry. In fact, his talent as a songwriter and producer earned him a Grammy nomination before he fully stepped into ministry. But as his influence grew, so did the responsibilities that came with it. How did a man who once focused on music end up leading a global ministry? And what challenges emerged as his platform expanded far beyond Los Angeles? Let's take a closer look. When influence became a heavy responsibility. What began as a small gathering of believers eventually transformed into a rapidly expanding international ministry. Through Revelation Church, social media broadcasts, prophetic teachings, large conferences, and daily messages such as Daily Power Shot, Lovy's reach extended far beyond the city where it all started. Before long, many followers no longer viewed him as simply a pastor. To them, he became a trusted spiritual mentor, a voice they relied on during life's most difficult moments. Every day, people from around the world reached out to him. Some were battling serious illnesses. Others were struggling through financial hardship, family problems, emotional pain, or uncertainty about their future. Many believed that a single word from him could bring comfort, direction, or even transform their circumstances. As his audience grew larger, so did the emotional demands placed upon him. From the outside, people saw confidence, strength, and success. Behind the scenes, however, ministry often required far more than public appearances and inspiring messages. Each sermon was followed by counseling sessions. Every prophetic word led to new prayer requests. Every event brought fresh expectations from those seeking guidance. Slowly, the burden of carrying so many personal stories became part of everyday life. At the same time, modern ministry left little room for privacy. In a world driven by constant connectivity, people expected immediate access to spiritual leaders. There was always another message to answer, another event to attend, or another crisis demanding attention. Like many well-known pastors today, Lovy was expected to remain strong at all times. Whether exhausted, stressed, or overwhelmed, he still was expected to appear confident and full of faith. Few people truly understood the pressure that came with carrying such expectations. Supporters viewed his growing influence as evidence of God's favor and blessing. Critics, however, saw something else entirely. They questioned whether modern ministry was becoming too centered around personalities and celebrity culture. As Revelation Church continued to expand, one question quietly remained in the background. How much pressure could one person carry before it began to show? No one knew that a shocking moment was about to leave his congregation, the service that suddenly changed everything. On what appeared to be an ordinary Sunday morning, Revelation Church was filled with worship, excitement, and anticipation. The congregation sang passionately as they prepared to hear another message from the pastor whose teachings had inspired people across the world. At first, everything seemed completely normal. Then, something unexpected happened. While speaking from the pulpit, Lovy began showing signs that something wasn't right. Those sitting closest to the stage noticed subtle changes first. His voice seemed weaker than usual. The energy and confidence people were accustomed to hearing appeared to fade. Initially, many assumed he was simply pausing for emphasis, something he often did during powerful moments in his messages. But this silence felt different. Seconds stretched longer than expected, and concern began spreading through the room. The atmosphere quickly shifted. Excitement gave way to uncertainty. Members of the church leadership moved toward the stage as worshipers watched nervously. Some began praying aloud. Others fought back tears as fear slowly settled over the congregation. Within moments, it became clear that this was more than a routine pause. Those around him stepped in to offer support as the service took an unexpected turn. What had started as a normal worship gathering suddenly became a moment no one present would forget.
As concern grew inside the church, the story quickly spread online. Attendees recorded short videos, and within minutes, clips of the incident began circulating across social media platforms. Soon, people around the world were discussing what had happened. Messages of concern, prayer, and support poured in from every direction. The incident sparked serious questions. Had years of non-stop ministry finally taken a toll on him? Was this simply exhaustion? Could stress have played a role, or was something more significant happening behind the scenes? For many observers, the event served as a powerful reminder that even the most influential spiritual leaders remain human beings who experience weakness, fatigue, and vulnerability. Yet while concerns about his health captured attention, another storm was quietly forming, one that would bring even greater scrutiny. The lawsuit that shook his ministry. In November 2025, a major legal challenge emerged. A woman identified in court records as Jane Doe filed a civil lawsuit against Lovy Elias and Revelation Church in Los Angeles County Superior Court. The complaint contains serious allegations, including claims of sexual misconduct, emotional manipulation, spiritual abuse, invasion of privacy, and misuse of pastoral authority. According to the complaint, the situation allegedly began after the woman supported and shared content from Lovy's ministry online. The filing claims that the relationship later became personal and that spiritual language was used in ways that influenced important life decisions. Court documents further allege that financial assistance and expensive gifts created emotional dependency during the relationship. Among the most serious allegations were claims involving the sharing of intimate images without consent, raising concerns about privacy and trust. The lawsuit additionally questioned whether church leadership knew about the situation or failed to address it appropriately. These allegations immediately drew widespread attention. Lovy Elias firmly rejected every accusation. In public statements, he described the claims as false, harmful, and defamatory. He maintained that the allegations did not reflect the truth and strongly denied wrongdoing. As news of the lawsuit spread, reactions became sharply divided. Supporters rallied behind him, insisting he was being unfairly targeted. Many viewed the situation as an attack designed to damage his ministry and reputation. They encouraged prayer, patience, and trust while the legal process unfolded. Critics saw the matter differently. For them, the lawsuit highlighted broader issues within modern ministry. They questioned how much influence any single leader should have, especially when spiritual authority intersects with emotional and financial trust. As the debate continued, new concerns emerged. Could Revelation Church withstand the pressure of ongoing scrutiny? Would the ministry remain strong despite the controversy? Could Lovy rebuild trust among those who now questioned his leadership? Or could future legal developments reveal information that changes public perception once again? At this stage, definitive answers remain elusive. Every new development seems to raise additional questions rather than provide clarity. One thing, however, has become undeniable. The story of Lovy Elias is no longer just about ministry growth or personal success. It has become a complex narrative involving faith, influence, leadership, controversy, vulnerability, and public accountability. And perhaps the biggest question still remains unanswered. Is this merely a difficult chapter in his journey, or the beginning of a much larger story? What are your thoughts on the allegations surrounding Pastor Lovy Elias? Do you believe this controversy could have a lasting impact on his ministry? Share your opinion in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next update.